Greetings to you, conversationalists all across the fruited plain, as well as all of you single-issue folks out there. We welcome you all. It's the Rush Limbaugh program, the Excellence in Broadcasting Network, underway for yet another exciting, busy broadcast day. Much going on out there, my good friends, and you can count on us to get to all of it. By the time this program ends today, the telephone number, if you'd like to be on the program, 1-800-282-2882. The headlines in the newspapers across the country today all talk about the same thing, Clinton's penis and Janet Reno's probe. It's amazing. The Washington Times has finally unveiled the contents of Paula Jones' affidavit. The distinguishing characteristic is said to be a hard turn to the left. Details will follow on the program in moments. One of these things I'll get to as the program unfolds. Attorney General Janet El Reno is testifying as we speak before the House Judiciary Committee. We've selected a couple of sound bites from this morning's testimony to illustrate a point to you. We'll get to that in a moment. I know some of you are probably watching it. I'd like to know, from those of you who are, do you think that what has happened this morning is going to lead to a special prosecutor? Is anybody scoring any points against this woman? The Democrats are doing a pretty good job of obfuscating things, and they are. Thanks, Mr. Sirley. I knew that you'd chime in with that. Actually, the point that I was trying to be making yesterday, that in fact, not tried to make, the point that I did make, and brilliantly yesterday, is being proven this morning. Now this afternoon at the House Judiciary Committee. Also, the Tax Foundation has come up with the latest IRS data on taxes, and the rich are paying an even greater share than they were in 1994. These numbers are from 1995. We'll get to the details of that as the program unfolds today. Also, we have some information here about why women don't vote as much as men and what women want and need in order to vote in greater numbers. I'll have the details. But first, my friends, let's return to the subject of yesterday, which got all that happened on yesterday's program started, and that was the subject of impeachment of the president. I was under a considerable fire yesterday for not spearheading the movement and for not leading it. And then there was real anger expressed at me by people who thought that I was incredibly wrong when I said that I wouldn't support it, or that I don't agree with it as a maneuver at this point in time, and that led to some truly angry calls yesterday. And I got a lot of mail from people who were depressed about the angry calls, and they ran the gamut. It's about time you got your comeuppance. Let me just tell you, I didn't get a comeuppance. And if anybody thinks that I got a comeuppance yesterday, think again. I don't mind listening to what people think, but I have never formed my opinions after taking votes on what the majority of others think and then agree with that, and I'm not going to start now. My opinions are my own, based on my own thoughts, intellect, research, discovery, education, et al. I viewed yesterday as very interesting, not a comeuppance. And I think yesterday, the people who listen to this program who never call had quite an entertaining day and perhaps even an eye-opening day. And we will continue some calls from the same vein as yesterday. Not going to devote the whole show to it today as we did yesterday. We're still going to talk about it. But I want to continue here and start the program off today. One of the funniest letters I got, and there's so many of them, I can't respond to all of them, but those of you who took the time to write email, I appreciate it. It was in the thousands. One of the funniest I got was from some guy who said, yeah, you really were told the way it is today. Your show really has changed. You don't take calls from people anymore. Your program was nothing but an interesting interchange of ideas between yourself and the callers. You never used to play parody songs. You never used to play a lot of music on your program. You never did monologues. You never went 45 minutes before you took a phone call. I'm saying, what planet is this guy on? What program has he been listening to? I wrote him back. I said, of all the mail I've gotten, yours is the most ignorant. But thanks for your thoughts anyway. He knows who he is. All right. some background on impeachment. I've taken some time yesterday afternoon and last night, and even this morning, to look into this, to do some research, and then to combine with what I learned my opinions. One of the things I learned, ladies and gentlemen, is that a president need not violate a federal criminal statute to be impeached. There need not be a violation of the United States Criminal Code in order for there to be impeachment proceedings or for him to be impeached. For example, several of the impeachment counts against Richard Nixon had nothing to do with any statute. Among other things, the articles of impeachment against Nixon included his impoundment of funds and the bombing of Cambodia. So high crimes and misdemeanors is not interpreted to mean statutory violations, although they can be included, certainly, but it is not necessary for them to be. The Constitution is rather detailed in its explanation of how the impeachment process is to work. The Founding Fathers wanted a certain mechanism by which high officials, including top executive branch officials and judges, could be ousted by Congress, the representatives of the people. The way it has worked is that the House Judiciary Committee draws up the articles of impeachment, charges, if you will, and passes the articles on a majority vote. Simple majority is all that's required. The articles are then reported to the full House, which can modify, adopt, or reject the charges by majority vote. In fact, in strict constitutional lingo, Richard Nixon was actually impeached. He just wasn't convicted because he resigned first. After the articles of impeachment are passed by simple majority in the House of Representatives, the charges are then sent to the Senate, which sits as jury. The Chief Justice of the United States sits as the presiding judge. 2/3, or 67 senators, are required to vote to convict. Without 67 votes, you don't get a conviction, you don't have a guilty verdict. Now, as I pointed out yesterday and last Friday, during detailed discussions of all this, Nixon resigned before the Senate could adjudicate. That's the way it works in reality. No president's going to sit up there and go through a trial. This one might, but that's even hard to imagine. But in order to force the president out, you got to have the goods. And this is, you're going after the king here. You're going to take out the king, you take out the king. You don't wound the king. Another interesting sidelight, which we have mentioned on this program before, is that Hillary Clinton, who was a House Judiciary Committee staff member at the time of Richard Nixon's impeachment, took the position that Nixon should not even be permitted to have counsel with him during the trial stage. She and Bernard Nussbaum were of that opinion. I don't think she probably feels the same way today. Now, many people said yesterday that this has nothing to do with politics, that this is a matter of law, a matter of morality, a matter of saving America. And this is where, and it's not a game, and that they resent the fact that the managing of our nation's affairs, is looked at as a game, and that many people in this audience resent me for so characterizing the proceedings on a daily basis in Washington as a game. There is, however, my friends, a major difference between recognizing the constitutional availability of impeachment and the reality of implementing it. And I think that many of you who called yesterday missed the distinction. There certainly is an important constitutional mechanism for Congress to remove a sitting president, but the process is cumbersome and it does require political support. Can't happen without it. The Republican majority in the House, as an example, which must vote on the impeachment charges, is slim. And as you know, if you recall, about 50 of the Republican House members are considered moderate or liberal. They have shown us, have they not, in the last 2 years, and I'm getting into the political reality of it. They have shown us, along with several conservative members, not just the liberals and moderate Republicans, several conservative Republicans in the House of Representatives have demonstrated to all of us they do not have the stomach to fight Bill Clinton. They don't have the stomach to fight the Democrats. They don't have the stomach to fight the mainstream media. On issues like tax cuts, spending cuts, property rights, school vouchers, entitlement reform, and all, they don't have the guts to fight them on those issues, my friends. Not a majority. We don't have a majority in the House that's willing to fight them on those issues. And now we come up with articles of impeachment and we expect Republican unity? The only reason Nixon got into trouble is because the Democrats were unified back in 1972, and they had considerable numbers in both houses. There's no Republican unity here, not on the issues of the day, and certainly not on this. So how can we seriously expect the current makeup of our House of Representatives and even the Senate, even though the numbers there are greater, to competently and steadfastly press for impeachment of a sitting president who was reelected only 11 months ago and sits today with either 59 or 62% approval rating in the polls? Every time Clinton threatens to shut down the government, these guys cave in, from his chemical weapons ban to the Medicare threats to everything else. And you think? Now moving on to the Senate. Even if the House stunned us all and impeached the President of the United States, how many of you seriously believe that 2/3 of the Senate would vote to convict him? There are 55 Republican senators, but that's not enough. You need 12 Democrats that would have to cross over and vote with the Republicans to impeach the President of the United States. Now, any of you yesterday who were all hot and bothered for this, please call me and give me the names of the 12 Democratic senators who will vote to oust their own president in an impeachment trial. The 45 Senate Democrats have been remarkably united in all of their significant battles with the Republicans. All 45 voted for this sham McCain-Feingold bill, if you'll recall, which was nothing more than an attempt to divert attention from the things you want Clinton impeached for. All 45 Democrats voted to divert attention from it. You want to name for me 12 of those 45 who are going to all of a sudden change their minds and vote with the 55 Republicans to give us 67 votes to impeach and convict Bill Clinton. And let's not forget that the Democrats on the Senate Whitewater Committee and now the Senate Governmental Affairs Committee, led by John Glenn and Carl Levin, are today, as we speak, doing everything possible to undermine the Senate's investigation and divert attention away from Clinton. They're acting as defense lawyers, not a jury. There's no way, my friends, at least today, that 2/3 of the Senate will vote to convict Clinton and remove him from office. Now, some of you believe, despite this, that the effort should be made. You believe that articles of impeachment should be voted out of the House Judiciary Committee, assuming they would be, and presented to the full House. And this is where you and I disagree, not because I don't think impeachment is a constitutionally supportable device, but because an effort to impeach Clinton now is not only futile, it could lead to some things that are even counterproductive. There's more to all this than just making a statement. There's more to all this than just staking your ground and shouting from the rooftops what you think. As I said again only moments ago, if you're going to kill the king, if you're going to overthrow the king, you'd better succeed. Charging the gates for the sake of leading a charge is foolish. What we need is a full, independent, unobstructed investigation into the Clinton-Gore 96 campaign and everything about this administration that we can get an investigation of, including money laundering involving foreign governments and allegedly now the Teamsters, efforts to funnel over $600,000 in illegal funds into the Clintons' defense fund, alleged bribery possibly involving Johnny Chung, former Energy Secretary Hazel O'Leary, and Mrs. Clinton, attempts to shake down dirt-poor Indian tribes and Buddhist nuns, 103 secret coffee klatch fundraisers in the White House, the selling of the Lincoln bedroom, illegal solicitations on government property, the commingling of so-called soft and hard money, and all the rest. That's why I have maintained that the action and our focus must be on the Justice Department and Janet Reno's stonewalling and dissembling. She stands in the way of a Watergate-style and Iran-Contra-style investigation. She refuses to comply with the independent counsel law, which gives her the power today to seek an independent counsel when it is in the national public interest. Conflict of interest alone would require one. She's not going to do it. I don't reject impeachment as a constitutional tool to remove a sitting president. However, I simply don't believe that conditions, as we speak today, are right for such an effort. It could backfire, could be portrayed as politically motivated, undermine the necessary criminal investigation that must be undertaken. I don't rule it out down the road, but as a matter of political reality and sensible strategy, now is not the time. Be back in a moment.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
To the hearings this morning we go, the House Judiciary Committee and the hearings of Janet Reno. A couple of sound bites here to illustrate a point. First off, before we get to the hearings, actually, here is from one of the films that has been released, July 19th, 1996, Democratic National Committee lunch at a Washington hotel.
Now, I have known John Huang a very long time. At least to be as young as we are. We've known each other. And when he told me this event was going to unfold as it has tonight, I wasn't quite sure I believed it. But he had never told me anything that didn't come to pass.
Ooh, boy, we can nail him on that, can't we? He's known John Huang for a long time. Impeach him! Yeah. Well, this subject came up at the hearings today. House Judiciary hearings. Janet Reno was there. James Sensenbrenner, Republican Wisconsin, is interviewing and questioning Reno.
I heard the tape on the radio as I was driving into work this morning, and for the Justice Department and its leader to say that the president didn't do anything wrong by pouring effusive praise on Mr. Huang, who I think has proven to have done something wrong because the DNC returned over $1.5 million to the donors, is something that really destroys your credibility and the credibility of your department, Madam Attorney General. And I think that, that alone ought to be enough for you to wash your hands of the affair and to appoint an independent counsel.
Let us go back over it, because what you said is you really come through for us. It did not say you come through for us by illegal acts. It does not say I know that you did something wrong. It does not say that I participated with you. It simply says you come through for us.
But the President of the United States, Madam Attorney General, excuse me.
May I finish, sir?
Order, Mr. Chairman. The witness will be permitted to finish her statement.
If you have specific and credible information that the President of the United States or anyone else covered by the statute may have violated federal law, then let me pursue that. But I can't pursue it based on just the statement that you have provided. If you have additional information from that tape of which I am not aware, then let me know. But based on the standards that prosecutors have followed, that statement by itself is not sufficient to trigger an investigation under the independent counsel statute.
Well, the tape, Madam Attorney General, does show Mr. Huang there. It does show a room full of contributors. Now, I would imagine that there is a record of who was present at the fundraiser that the president attended, and we could see whether any of the contributions that were raised were ones that the DNC had to return as being illegal or suspect.
As I indicated,
Order, Mr. Chairman, I have a point of order.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I hope that my time is told as a result of the interruptions that are coming from the other side.
That is Congressman James Sensenbrenner of Wisconsin in an exchange with Janet Reno. I told you when these films, these tapes first came out that I suspected these things are a trick. I'm even more convinced now that they are a trick because this is ridiculous. This is getting us nowhere. We'll be back in a moment. Welcome back. The Rush Limbaugh program continues on this, the EIB network, the Limbaugh Institute for Advanced Conservative Studies, the all-knowing Maharishi, executing assigned host duties flawlessly, zero mistakes. Hey, my friends, congratulations to the Florida Marlins in the World Series. Ted and Jane's Atlanta Braves are out. Why? Why are the Florida Marlins in the World Series? Mr. Snerdley, you want to take a guess? I have a specific answer to the question. Oh, come on. It's easy. Well, but yeah, they won. That's right. How did they win? How? No, they didn't. No. They scored more runs. I mean, that's how you determine who wins and loses a baseball game. The Marlins scored more. What? I'll tell you what it proves. It proves that we need run-scoring reform. This is a national disgrace. Why should one team get more runs than another? I mean, the fault, my friends, lies with Ted Turner. He should have cut a few corners. I mean, everybody does it. He should have smuggled in Ken Griffey from Seattle. He could have gotten out and after the season gotten Roger Clemens from Toronto and made the league stop him. Everybody does it is the excuse. I mean, is it against the law? And who cares if it's against the law? That doesn't necessarily mean that it's wrong. Everybody does. Besides, it's an old law. It's time for run-scoring reform. There's no controlling legal authority here anyway. I mean, Ted Turner's got Larry King, got Wolf Blitzer, Bernie Shaw, Judy Woodruff, Al Hunt, Mark Shields, got the whole gang to back him up on this if he would have gone out and just gotten the players who could have scored more runs. Why should he sit there at a disadvantage? My point here, ladies and gentlemen, is campaign finance reform. The Democrats' excuse is, well, they had more money to wait. So that's your problem. Go out. And if you can't compete in money, does it give you the right to break the law and go do it? And yes, the answer is they think it does, because we are evil and they are good. And they've got the Justice Department all bottled up. If you can't tell by these hearings today, those of you who listen to it, we played you that soundbite. Do you realize how ineffective? This is the highlight. What we played for you moments ago is the highlight. That's the closest the Republicans got to her. Hey, we saw John Wong on that tape, and Clinton thanked John Wong for coming through. I watched this, and I was just in stunned amazement, especially in context of remembering calls yesterday. We need to go forward with impeachment. If we can't do any better than this, I mean, there are obvious questions to ask her. These tapes, for example, ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you something. I don't believe for a moment that Janet Reno didn't have any idea that Clinton's taping himself. You mean the Attorney General of the United States doesn't know the president's got these videotape systems set up? Every one of these tapes they've released, and I'm going to assume there hasn't been any yet. Well, we can't assume anything with this bunch, but these things, for the most part, show nothing illegal. It's like they've been sitting on these tapes and just hoping and praying for an opportunity to use them, and by golly, by gosh, we walked right into that old bear trap. Oh, you want to say, well, yeah, we have tapes. What went on? Oh, I don't want to give those up. I'm mad about that. I didn't know these were being taped. I had no idea. I didn't remember. Nobody remembered. Why? You think she was mad? You should have seen me. Man, here come the tapes, and they are angelic. And we're conducting hearings on nothing on tape. John Wong's in the frame. My friends, there's much more needed than John Wong in the frame. John Wong being thanked by the president for coming through. These are the first 2 to 3 minutes. This is not what we need. We don't need these films. What we need are the Secret Service logs of the private meetings. Steve Dunleavy in the New York Post has got it right today. We need the Secret Service logs of the private meetings Clinton had with some of these high rollers, not these joint sessions in various rooms of the White House, in various Washington, D.C. hotels. Also, out in California yesterday, any of you have a chance? I was watching the baseball game last night because I wanted to see the unfair advantage one team would have over another by winning. And so I'm channel surfing back and forth, and CNN ran this. You know, it's amazing people got up and went to work today. Those who watched CNN last night, it's amazing. If you watch CNN's special on El Nino, you realize we're all dead. It's just a matter of months. We're dead. Especially you people in California. You may as well go to the plot, buy it up now, dig the hole, and have the funeral home standing by, because we're dead. This was the most outrageous scare tactic I have ever seen. It was though Al Gore wrote the script for CNN. And 2 hours, they gave about 2 minutes, 3 minutes to some scientists that doubt the severity of El Nino's effects this year. Do you realize that when this El Nino was first discovered to be as big as it is, scientists believed by CNN and the mainstream press were quoting rainfall amounts in California 800% above normal? And then it was revised downward to 500% above normal. And then they revised it downward again to 300% above normal. And so today, the best scientific minds in America predict rainfall of not 800% above normal for California this winter, but 150% above normal. That's their best estimate now. And we're basing you got to re-roof your house, man. You got to go out and buy sandbags. There is a scam going on here. And then Al Gore decides, with all of the science at his disposal, to link El Nino to global warming. Vice President Al Gore, let me give you a clue. El Nino was first discovered hundreds of years ago. If El Nino is the result of global warming, then it has been going on for 500 years, sir. This is... I knew this was going to happen. I was speculating last week. When are we going to get Al Gore linking global warming to El Nino? El Nino being caused by global warming, blah, 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 blah. Nothing's changed. We still can't forecast the weather with any accuracy beyond 2 or 3 days. And yet we've got people reordering their lives, building new homes, putting new roofs in the house. We got sandbags being manufactured. We got all sorts of stuff going on. The people of this country are being scared to death. Barbara Boxer convened this stupid thing yesterday afternoon. They're out there selling El Nino insurance. $300 a pop. Sign up now if you live in the right place. It's a major national scare tactic and just extremely typical of the liberal democratic establishment in this country. They can't get anywhere without scaring people to death. And it's working. I mean, people are talking about this. They're worried about it. But if you look at past El Ninos, for example, try this. The average number of rainstorms in California, which dump more than an inch of rain per storm, is 5. During the most severe El Nino, there were 6. 1 above average. But my friends, the earth is going to end as we know it. In California, at least, and in Florida. We've got nincompoop, pointy-headed intellectuals who still want to get their hands on as much American money as they can at the Global Climate Conference in Oslo 3 months ago, advising people all over the world, don't go to Florida. What they didn't say, but what they implied was, if you want to survive. Take a quick break and come back with some phone calls here. Don't go away. Rush Limbaugh at 1-800-282-2882.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
On the cutting edge of societal evolution, Rush Limbaugh. The all-knowing, all-caring, and all-sensitive Maharishi with talent on loan from God. Bob in Spring, Texas, you have the distinct high honor of being the first call today. Hello.
Well, it is an honor, Maharishi. How are you today?
Fine. Thank you, sir, for your call.
Good. I am honored to be the first and to be the first to tell you that in my honored opinion, you are right on track with your position on impeachment. Boy, what a bunch of whiners you had yesterday. I couldn't believe that these were people calling themselves conservatives.
Be careful. They're going to call you a traitor if you don't.
Well, I'm sure you get a lot of that on your email, but I'm thinking in particular of that caller who said that we had to impeach Clinton because having Clinton as president would set a bad example for his kids and screw them up. You remember him?
Mm-hmm.
Well, BS, Barbara Streisand. It may come as a shock to him, Rush, but he's responsible for raising his kids, just like I am for mine. And I got the sense yesterday that a lot of your listeners have fallen prey to the victim syndrome in our society. They view themselves as buffeted by circumstances beyond their control. They're victims of Bill Clinton, and their kids will be victims of Bill Clinton, which is why we have to impeach him. You know, they're no different from, you remember that woman who called in several years ago? I don't know whether it was Lorraine X, who said that she didn't know what she was going to do when Bill Clinton was no longer president.
No, that wasn't Lorraine X. It was one of the X family, but I can't remember which. Yeah, it was Billy X from Atlantic City. That's right.
Well, you know, she said she didn't know how she was going to get up in the morning if he wasn't president.
That's
Our
right.
country was going to be over. And these people are no different. Their whole lives revolve around that guy. And I want to tell you that I'm not a victim, and my kids aren't going to be victims. I'm responsible for how they grow up and not who's in the White House. And I'm going to teach them correct values no matter who's in the White House. If it's Clinton, I'll use him as a negative example to make my same points. But, you know, your listeners need to get over it, get a life, and get on with it. This focus and obsession with getting this man is distracting them from far more important things, and they're thinking of themselves as victims. They've fallen into the trap.
Well said. Thanks for your call, Bob. I appreciate it. That's well said and well thought out, I think. It does border on an obsession, which reminds me, there were some people yesterday who said I've sort of gone soft and that I have, I don't know, I can't remember the terminology, but that I am no longer as in a hot pursuit of the, but even before the vim and vigor comment, but somebody got to me, but I mean, that I've lost my desire to pursue Clinton, and that means that I've softened and so forth. And I just want to say in response that I take a back seat to no one in the pursuit of the wrongdoings, the deceit, the violations, the lack of honesty, the unethical, immoral behavior of this administration. I instead think of myself as the leader of the pack in this regard, certainly one of the leaders, going back to the campaign of 1992. And anybody who wants to say, I am dropping the ball, is so obsessed with a single-minded vision that they themselves are the ones looking through distorted viewfinders, not I. Lakeland, Florida. Ed, hello. You're next on the EIB network.
Well, great megadittos from the irradiated Central Florida region, Rush.
Thanks for the call. Irradiated because of what?
Oh, Cassini.
Oh, by the way, my friends, yes, I meant to bring. We're all alive and everything is okay. The Cassini mission got off the ground. It's everything's okay. We should all be dead now, or you're right. We should all at least be poisoned. But it was just fine, wasn't it?
Well, yes, as a matter of fact, it was. I thought they should have brought in all that E. coli tainted beef, and then we could have irradiated it and killed the E. coli.
Not a bad idea.
Rush, I listened yesterday, and I really felt for you, with everybody ganging up on you and claiming that you should be the leader and that you've gone soft. And you know, for how many years has you been informing people that they need to take responsibility for their own lives and for their own actions, and then to let a bunch of yahoos get on the phone and tell you, well, Rush, we can't impeach the president because you won't lead us. My daughter is going to grow up to be an idiot because Bill Clinton's in the White House. What is wrong with them? Get a life and take responsibility for your own actions. You want him impeached? Go out and get your 12 Democratic senators to vote with the Republicans to impeach him. But don't call up Rush and start giving him a hard time.
Oh, no, wait. They can do that.
Well, I mean,
they can do that if they want.
But
we opened it up to them yesterday. By the way, this was. I knew they were out there. I can tell in the email, and I told Mr. Snerdley, said, open it up to them. Let them on in. I wanted to talk to them, and I wanted to have them get their shot at me. I mean, because they're burning out there. These people are really. In fact, you know, I'll tell you something in the email, and this did not happen a phone call yesterday, Ed, but I did get some email. I actually got chastised. I said, must have been some weeks ago, Mr. Snerdley, you'll get a kick out of this. I said to people, at some point on this program to a caller or somebody, I said, you know, life is to be enjoyed, and you get up and you give it your best shot every day, but at some point you have to also realize that there's a lot good about this country right now, and there's plenty to enjoy, and there's plenty to experience, and there's plenty to strive for. And I got a piece of mail yesterday saying that proves that you've lost it. You used to be single-mindedly devoted to the destruction of Bill Clinton's term in office. And now you're saying that you want to go out and enjoy life. Well, that's not what your listeners want. Well, if that's true, I don't know how many people that letter writer speaks for. I mean, that's the level of the obsession that people have out there. And you know, I am just as desirous that the guy get his comeuppance as they are. But I am not obsessing about it. I do like, I even got stay away from California. That just distracts you. All you do is go out there and get back in bed with your friends, and you come back and talk about it, and we don't care. You should start out with facts and figures that'll help us get the information and the data to get rid of Clinton. I mean, it was a good thing that this happened yesterday, because these people are. They're emoting like crazy, and they all. You know what this is, my friends? I'll tell you what this is exactly like. This is like the Perot rebellion I went through in '92. It's identical. You're losing touch. You don't understand what we want. You should be leading it with Perot, and on and it's like the Perot insurrection. It's the same thing, and because I'm off track on this one thing, I've lost it, and I'm no longer worthy of being trusted. So, but as I say, I'm happy it happened, and if any of them want to call today, I mean, I've told Mr. Snerdley that if any more of them want to come in and get their 2 cents in, feel free. Well, I'm going to not devote the whole show to it, though, nor am I going to devote the whole show to callers who are upset at things that happened yesterday. I'm going to, because we got just a whole bunch of stuff out there, issue-oriented things I actually think that you should know about and be treated to my tremendous opinion on. That was not. Stop bragging. I'm getting sick and tired of you bragging. Keep Newt off your show. Your show sucks, and all this sort of stuff. There's real anger out there. amongst people who claim to have been lifelong supporters and totally let down. That's okay, but as I say, I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but I'm always interested in hearing what people think, because this program has always been a program where I, the host, have kept the audience in mind first. Now, some may not think that that's the case now, but it surely is. And I also think it should be pointed out that we all grow, and I don't mean become more moderate or liberal. I'm not using it as a political joke, but everything changes, and if you don't, and I'm not talking about principles or anything, I'm not going to get into that. That's going to be taken out of context so many ways, and Sunday it's not even funny. So we'll take a break, be back with more in just a second. Stay with us, my friend.
You're listening to the EIB Network.
Well, there's not enough time here to take another call, ladies and gentlemen, but suffice to say there's more coming up on the Vice President and the El Nino Scare Meeting crisis conference yesterday. New income tax data. The rich are paying an even greater share. Actually, a lot of people are. What women need in order to vote more. We've also put together a montage of Democratic complaints. Whining and moaning from Democrats in the House Judiciary Committee today before the Janet Reno interrogation began. And here's a sample email. Dear Rush, your program has just come on for Wednesday. I'm so sad to realize you're still so condescending. Rush, come off your high horse. Get back to being the caring person you were when I started listening to you 3 years ago. What, is now disagreeing with people on impeachment condescending? Gee.